Yo, boy, hey everyone, how's it going? What's going down? Here to talk about the finale of Dragula with number one Dragula special guest.
Hello, it is I, magically appearing through your screen. Hello.
I like the way you explain how you're in their house every single time. It's sort of creepy and endearing at the same time.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's mostly because I just don't understand technology. So I think it's me just being genuinely surprised, like kind of a bygone from a Victorian era, kind of trying to comprehend what's happening in modern day times. That's me. That's what I'm going to put on my CV.
That is a good summation of your character.
I will take that with me to the day I die, and I will die surrounded by crows and Victorian memorabilia.
Oh, it's interesting you say that. Topical reference.
Yes. Right. And we'll come to that later. Ooh,
yeah.
Magic.
We do actually have, so you need to be gone in 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, thereabouts. I can stretch to an hour. It's fine.
I don't want you to, because I keep screwing up your life with this live stream. So we're aiming for a 45-minute stream. So we're trying to go relatively quick. So I think there's quite a lot to talk about again. So yeah, also sorry, I didn't get a chance to change out my gym stuff again. So I've given you gym fantasy 2 weeks in a row, which is a bit sloppy. But I saw that out for Dragula.
Forgot.
I know, exactly. Literally, I've been to gym in my life. Don't know what a gym is. But yeah, right. Let's start at the beginning. So, right, the grinder scene. First of all, why did this happen?
Hang on, do you mean they're like little death videos?
Yeah, why did that happen?
I'm assuming they must have filmed all the death videos pretty either at the same time, or around the same time. And basically, I did it was like, this is kind of giving the audience the kind of like, if James had gone out at this time in the competition, we would have had this video, I think.
I wasn't getting that. I didn't get that. I didn't pick up on it. I'm just like, what's going on? Like, it's cool, but why?
Yeah, it completely threw me for like the first 2 or 3 minutes. I was like, because at first, especially because so much of the beginning bit was just Victoria, and I was like, are they going to kill her off at the beginning? Is this like a twist where
that's what I thought as well?
Yeah. So no, I'm glad they didn't, because I mean, I have some nice opinions about what she did later. So
all right, spoilers.
Although, can I just quickly ask? Sorry, on a thing with that opening, those little opening videos about that. So this is probably jumping forward quite a bit. I can save this for later if you want.
No, sorry, is this about the opening videos or about something else later?
About the death videos, yeah. But like,
go on then.
On the side of the milk carton, was that meant to be Victoria?
I don't remember, if I'm honest.
Because I literally rewound it twice and was like, rewound it. I'm thinking I'm using some kind of VCR. I went back over it, and with my little remote control, kind of stabbing the buttons. No, I kind of went back over and like twice and couldn't quite picture it. For a split second, I thought it was Loris, and the second time I watched it,
I know what you're talking about. I thought it was Loris as well. Okay. I'm sorry, that's what I thought. So you said you thought Victoria's been killed off. I initially thought one of the queens was being brought back. And I thought like Loris is missing. Like, what's happened to Loris? Everyone loves her. She's a secret fourth one for the finale. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Yeah, I thought it was Loris. That reminded me.
Yeah, and then the second time I watched it, I thought it was Pearl or Loris, and like that started kind of getting more like going down a rabbit hole of not quite making sense. So I was like, well, it would be kind of interesting if Pearl was just like the random guest for the finale, just there like, hey, like kind of like pretty chill, just like judging the finale. Just
that would be so good. I miss Pearl so much.
Yeah. But no, I really loved those little the little death sequences. I think actually, I'm not sure if this is a controversial opinion, I thought they were some of the best death scenes that we've had in the whole series.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But the thing is, I suppose I wasn't watching it from the point of them being death sequences. It was more just like, well, obviously they were, but I mean, like in comparison to the other ones, I was just a bit like, this is building up to something. Like it's like we've sort of been chatting about. I was trying to work out what was happening as I was watching it.
Yeah.
So I don't really compare them to the others until now. But yeah, I suppose you're right. I think they were. I think James's one was a little boring.
Yeah, I think
Victoria's was the coolest in terms of like thematically.
Yeah, and I thought Victoria's acting in that was hilarious because I mean there was a lot of subtlety to it in the sense that, I mean, like there's a lot of it just being like focusing on her face, so she kind of needs to do it well. But I thought the little kind of like twitches when she first takes the drink of kind of like, oh, this is kind of killing me, but I don't want to upset my guests. Like there was this really like hilarious kind of thing on her face with that. I was just kind of like, yeah, she's great kind of thing. And I was I loved it. And she looked incredible in that as well. I just thought like,
let's go for looks. I think that's one of the most important things about these death scenes. Because again, like they're unique looks we got from them. We only got for a brief period of time. So, what do you think of Bitch's look?
I mean, obviously, it plays up to like Bitch doing the general like kind of local. She referred to herself later as the mouth of wherever she's from. She's the mouth of that place, and I thought Massachusetts, no, somewhere anyway. And I thought it was just I like that they kind of played up with that then, because especially because quite early on into the death sequences we saw, you know, hers was like that bit of meet me at 12 or whatever it was, meet me at midnight for some fun, was one of the first bits we saw. So I thought originally that it was going to be all three of them receiving a message and kind of meeting, and that would be the finale.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. That's why I thought it was like something Grinder, like what I thought it was, until maybe I'm still not sure if it was like it was this or not. But the Boulet brothers were on Grinder and they were trying to like lure the finalists to them for the finale. That's what I thought it was for most of it.
Right. I thought it was going to be something along those lines. And so it was quite fun with all of that. But anyway, sorry. Going back to what you asked me, I thought Bitch's look was hilarious for that. Like very like her acting and that was just like brilliant. Like she's kind of got the like full on like chewing, like full mouth chewing gum thing like down, and then like the kind of like really removed, but the kind of like an element of pathos and like sadness behind it, which I thought was beautiful. I loved her. I mean, I always love her anyway, but like
I know
she
you
was
do.
great.
It was sort of like her default looking character though. That's my only sort of criticism. Like, I mean, it's the same hair from the confessionals, isn't it? For example.
Yeah, and I did think it was kind of very the was it Thriller Queens? No, what was the challenge where they were in the woods? That I felt like it basically was that character again.
Same character. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was a little bit like, okay, but then I don't know at what point those were filmed. Like, I don't know if they filmed them all before the season properly started, or all at the end, or
like you said, if they're just like the standard death scenes, and they should represent their character in the best way possible during those scenes, because that's how you're going to be remembered. So if that's what they were, fair enough. But if they were filmed just before the finale, then like I was a bit underwhelmed by her look, especially.
I thought it was a bit simple in that sense, but I could just watch her for hours. So
yeah, I agree. I think she was cool. The look was cool. Yeah. Obviously, the point like we're nitpicking, right? Like we have to at this stage. It's the finale. Yeah. Like, they're all obviously awesome. I've got nothing. Like, I think they're all amazing performers. They do amazing looks, but it's more just like nitpicky at this point. Also, hey John, you're right. He's saying bitch is from the south. She's from Atlanta. So that's
Atlanta. Okay, sorry.
Apology, not.
I don't know why I thought Massachusetts. I don't know America really. But yeah, okay, thank you. But because she described herself as being the mouth of Atlanta then at some point.
Yeah. So sorry, let's move on. What do you think of Victoria's look for the death scene?
Oh, I loved it. I just thought it was very Alice in Wonderland, kind of which is kind of impressive that she managed to make that even more dark and twisted, but still very light. Because I always thought that like Alice in Wonderland had that really nice blend of like menacing and evil, but with kind of slightly fantastical elements to it. And it's kind of fun that she managed, for me at least, managed to play with that and keep the kind of the kind of beauty of it, and somehow still add a little bit of horror to it. Like I love that it was blue vomit, for example, and it was all just a little unnerving. It was great.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I don't know how much of it is when I was watching these sequences. I don't know how much is scripted by the production team / the Boulets, and how much the Queen's allowed to improvise with. So I don't know whether she's given like blue vomit, for example, like a blue capsule or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know how much credit we can give her for certain things.
Right. Because I was thinking, because they showed obviously a lot of the other death sequences, which was fun to relive, and especially just Disasterina's, where you kind of like, you can't really tell if Disasterina had been given that as a script or if it was just Disasterina, because you can never really tell with Disasterina, let's be honest. So even if you gave her a script, she would still read it as if she just made it up in the moment. So
very true.
With that really weird accent that's kind of like you're acting, but you're hamming it up and really badly acting. I don't know, it's incredible. Anyway, but no, to go back to those top three, I thought like I mean, I don't know how much credit we can give her, but she looked great. So
so I sort of my critique would be, I think the outfit was amazing. I think the outfit was super cool. I love like the mustard yellow color, and she put like the mustard yellow on her eyelid as well to sort of match it up. Like the ruffles, like it was quite it wasn't a particularly feminine outfit, but she made it look feminine. It was just, I really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say, Victoria, something I noticed this episode generally, is her makeup is virtually always exactly the same. Like the colors may change for the different looks slightly, but in terms of the way she paints, is always the same. Whereas the other two
Yeah, there's a very
finalists,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, go on. What are you gonna say?
No, I totally agree. There's always like a very heavy, very colored lip that's like a big focus. And then there's like a very similar kind of eyebrow and eye pattern. I mean,
Exactly.
it looks incredible. Don't get me wrong. Like
It does.
she
It's
nails it
beautiful.
every time.
It's like it's a bit Sharon Needles-esque in terms of like a glamour, horror, beauty sort of look. Like I love it. I think it's really, really cool. But it's just I don't know. It's difficult because like I said, it's more like it's more nitpicky at this point. We had so much screen time with her. Like it's just I guess it's just less exciting for me as I've seen it every week.
Yeah. Although speaking of screen time, if you don't mind me just jumping a little, just before we had all of those, one thing I thought was really interesting when they did the kind of recap of everything that had been going on so far, like loads of the deaths, loads of people winning challenges. They didn't.
Yeah.
They literally like left out Victoria winning her challenge. Like they were like, here is everything that's gone on so far, and they're like, and we're in the desert a little bit. Bitch, you won a challenge. Bitch, you won another challenge. Oh look, James, you won a. And I was like, is Victoria here? Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I feel like that's sort of something I was thinking watching the episode again. Like I think the whole season, although I don't know like when it's filmed in relation to when the episodes are released, I do feel like they, the way it was edited and produced, like they geared bitch up for the win. Like she was very much portrayed as the underdog. They really push that story very hard in a way that is sort of like again. I think it's a good story. It's entertaining to watch, and I think she did do well overcoming the adversity she was faced with at the very beginning. Literally just the first episode. But like I think it sort of means other Queen stories get downplayed in comparison. But at the same time, as a note I have later on, like did Victoria really have such a strong story anyway? Like that's something I guess we can talk about during the deliberation bit.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say just on that, I did think it was kind of interesting because when they played back through everything that had happened, and they later on where they did the individual videos for each person and spoke about their looks and everything. Looking back, I was like, oh, there are quite a few from early on that I didn't realize had been Victoria. Ones that I'd loved, but at the time when I was still working out who everyone was, I had maybe attributed them to like Dali or to Abora. And
yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Watching back, I was just like, oh, like she was incredible on like a lot of challenges where I thought she was okay. Like I kind of missed how good they were.
Yes, I think looks wise, she's always been outstanding, but it's just everything else in terms of personality and. I think that's something we should talk about in a bit, just because we might as well finish this section. So James's death video.
Yeah, I mean, it was so wonderfully corny and cheesy and James, but I also did find it kind of. I mean, this is me being very pedantic with this. I did kind of think like if someone is like rapidly approaching, I did find it funny that James was just like, "Oh, you're coming!" Like, look behind you, maybe, or like around. Like, I just like I get not looking into the pool. Like, I get that would be the last place you'd check, but I did find it funny that James wasn't like, "Oh, like where are you?" Like, it was just like it was literally just like, "Oh, you are coming." Where, Daddy? Yes, Daddy. 7 feet, 8 feet. And you're like, look around you. And it was just like, so, but I mean, that's in some ways what added to its charm because it was so like camp and silly. And it was, if you were going to give one to James, that was going to be James's, really, isn't it?
Yeah, true that. That's a good point. What do you think of her look?
I can't fully remember it actually.
Like a blue-green hair, and she had like the pearl she uses on her face quite a lot.
Yeah.
And a bikini, like a black bikini.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, by the fact that I forgot it, I didn't necessarily. Apparently, it wasn't that memorable for me. But I mean, James always looks good. I think I would only really notice if James, like when James looks like spectacular or when James looks terrible. And I haven't really seen James look terrible actually yet. I just thought it was all right. Yeah.
So like again, this isn't that I wrote down here, so I'm going to mention it here. But again, if you guys have watched my drag race streams as well, like one thing you'll know is like my favorite thing a queen can give is versatility. Like, and that's one thing James does amazingly well. Like we'll talk about it later for the final challenge, definitely. But even for this death video, I hadn't seen a look like that from her before. Like the bikini was a little bit plain, but it was still pretty cool. But it was mainly her head was awesome. Like her hair was really cool, like totally unique, and like what she'd done with the makeup and stuff. Like it was a bit reminiscent of her entry look in some ways, but it was still unique. I know it was just fun to see. Like it was an interesting look to see.
Yeah, it's always. I mean, it's always going to be decent with James, really. And yeah, I think she's all right.
Cool. And as we're on looks, what do you think of the Boulay brothers' looks for this final episode?
Oh, now trying to think. Oh God, no! I loved it. Sorry, I was just trying to remember what it was because my first thoughts were like because they did all the flashbacks of basically all of their own looks throughout the series of like, look at us, which is their right to do.
Yeah.
But I thought they looked great. I mean, as always, I did think it was interesting because sometimes previous looks I've had an issue with when sometimes when they do that kind of thing where they like either have like a blank kind of all one color lenses, for example, like a whole like completely white or completely black, and then kind of do things like that. Sometimes I find that quite off-putting, and I find it quite, I mean, it's meant to be eerie and off-putting, but sometimes I kind of can't quite connect with it in quite the same way. The one for the ritual I just thought was incredible. Like I loved, like it kind of took away any of the issues I normally have with it. I really loved it. And
Sorry,
I thought
I've actually forgotten the ritual look a little bit. I was thinking of the looks they wore just like during the main stage.
oh God, sorry.
My bad. I forgot about the ritual look. I don't. Yeah, that's cool. I can't remember enough to really comment on it. I didn't really write any notes about it.
I can't see. I think I have the opposite. I don't think I can remember what they wore on the stage now. Were
The
they
only
in red?
reason reason I remember what they wore on the stage is because I didn't think it's really appropriate for the finale. Like,
Okay.
like in terms of, I mean, obviously it's their show, I can do what they want. I'm trying to tell them not what to wear. But it's a bit like, isn't it, 80s style like rubber suit things, like purple with like gold accents. Do you remember? And one had like the mohawk, and the other one had like the
Sorry. Yeah.
hair. And it's just a bit like cool. But I was thinking, like, I was comparing it to Drag Race Final, I guess, where it'd be like Ruby come out like an amazing gown, and like it'd be cool if they did like the horror version of that, where it's just like they made. I think it would have made it feel like more of an event if they. It just felt like another like it felt like standard outfits for them, and all their standard outfits are really cool. I thought they were cool outfits, but I didn't feel like they had put any more effort in for this particular episode, which was a bit of a shame.
I see what you mean. Oh, okay. I can't remember noting it particularly, but I mean, they always. That's the thing. Even when they're like less kind of good, they always look incredible still as well. I mean, I did the fact that I forgot it again. Apparently, I did watch it earlier today and had a nap pretty like soon afterwards, I think. So maybe that's why. But the nap has erased it all from my memory.
That's still my point, though. That's still my point. Like, I feel like if they wore spectacular outfits, you'd remember it.
That's true. Because yeah, the ritual one I loved. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool as well. So should we chat about? So they had a little chat when they were getting ready. I made a couple notes during this bit. So the first thing is interesting to learn how shook James was after the supper, and that she really lent on Bitch, and Bitch really supported her through that.
Yeah, I thought that was rather sweet, and I think it's kind of interesting given not only what we were saying last week, where we were both saying that we kind of wanted to see James be a bit sweeter, but also what the Boulets had said themselves. I think it was kind of fun because, or interesting at least, because I mean it did show that obviously they're sisters and they look after each other. But I did think it was super cute that they'd kind of looked after each other, and I thought it was also interesting that James said that she knew that it would only be Disasterina who would save her.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, because it's interesting because James walks through the competition with this kind of almost delusional sense of grandeur, which James has admitted is
I think justified sense of grandeur.
Well, true, yes, but as James herself said during the episode a couple of times, like a lot of it was very much her kind of like a defensiveness, like her kind of doing that first to kind of have that as a character, to kind of be that confident almost as a way of getting herself through that competition. And so it's interesting that she thought that was that she kind of apparently knew that only Disasterina would get it. I mean, obviously they know each other outside of the cameras being on, so I guess they have a close sense of who actually gets on with who. But yeah, it's I did think that was strange.
Yeah, well, I wrote a note about this, so I don't know. I think it's a potentially a broader talking point, but I never really got the whole thing where she talked a few times about like how in drag she's bitchy, but it's all just an act, and she's actually really nice. Like I've never just understood that generally in the drag world. Like I don't think it's funny, or like I don't really get the idea of it. Like you can be snarky snarky's
Yeah.
fine, but like she was just like just being a bitch. Like, it showed clips of like the stuff she was saying, and she was just like just being horrible, like not nice. And it's just like I don't get why some people think like, oh, I'm gonna do like it's a character, like it's funny to do this or something. Like I don't know, like or maybe she just
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because if you can like, so someone who has always who kind of partly claims that it's a bit of their character is someone like Bianca Del Rio, right?
I was
Where
just about to use as an example.
yeah,
Yeah,
where her comedy, she very much says this is Bianca telling jokes, but also you get the idea that she would say this is Roy, but like with Bianca, there's that extra little barb of it's kind of like an exaggeration of Roy,
exactly. Which is what makes it a
whereas
joke.
right, exactly. Which is what I find kind of interesting with James kind of being like, oh, it's just my character. Like, I don't get how you would be able to flip 180 like that for every character. Like, obviously, there's some degree of acting where you do have to do that. But what I find interesting is like James both kind of saying like, oh, I'm really humble and I've learned a lot in this competition. But then also saying, oh yeah, but me doing this, me being super bitchy is part of my character, because it feels like James is receiving those compliments and saying, "Oh, me as James Majesty, the drag queen, I will take this on board and be more humble and whatever." But also, part of my character is being this, which is not me. But so it feels like sometimes there's that distance is there when it's convenient, but
Yeah, that's a good
otherwise,
point.
but I will take your comment on board in both forms, and yet I will only maybe apply it to one part of me. I don't know. It's a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, she said like she doesn't have many friends at home. I feel like maybe she's a bit like I don't know how to put it, like not socially as evolved as she could be. Maybe I feel like people who use that sort of like the bitchy excuse thing are using it as an excuse to like not fully connect with people. But it sounds
Yeah.
like she has really connected with people through the competition. That's why she was less like not really bitchy towards the end at all, because she did connect with people. So hopefully, like my hope for her would be, and again, this is just my own personal viewpoint. Like I could be wrong in this. Other people have different opinions, but that she doesn't feel she needs to be bitchy or anything. Like I don't think it really works anyway personally. That she can just be like how she was towards the end of the competition generally, like Boulet said, and then like I'm sure she would get a lot of friends quite easily. She does seem like a nice person who's obviously quite
Yeah.
emotional, quite deep, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure she's actually lovely, and the glimpses we get of her being really nice are rather sweet. I think it's just perhaps that's the thing. Like the nature of competition might bring out that terrible part in her, where she kind of thinks, you know, like come on, TV ratings, come on, like come on,
Yeah.
competition. Like it's kind of a bit, I don't know. I feel like
But I know,
that's
I feel like based on what you said about being back home, it's probably more of like a general social defense, like a
yeah,
subconscious one, maybe.
that's true. I guess yeah, I think you're
Like,
right.
oh, I don't know. Sorry, spending too long on this. So one other note I wrote from this section is that they all talked about how much they wanted to win, and I really saw the fire in both Bitch and James, but I really was not buying it at all with Vicky, even to the point where they had like a final statement, like I'm going to win no matter what or whatever. They showed one for Bitch and James, but not for Vicky. Like I left her out of that bit.
Yeah.
Like, did you notice that?
I noticed. I'm so glad you said that, because I literally wrote down on my I have notes for both James and Bitch on that part, and then Victoria was just like, what I thought was really funny actually is like James near the end was basically delivering like a presidential speech of just like, and that is why I should. And it was a very it was kind of hilarious. I loved it. Whereas like Bitches was like her with like this blue face paint, like she's kind of getting ready. By the way, actually, James looked incredible giving that part of the speech, like the red contacts with the red bit under the eyes and a little bit on the chin and the neck. I thought that was incredible. Like their little attention to detail, that was gorgeous. But what I loved is Bitches like little cheeky smile and like I've got some fucked up shit in my closet, and I was like,
oh, that was so good. I love that so much.
But what I thought was even better, the kind of lead up to that, was that at first I was like James started, because you just had James with this really like passionate speech, and Bitch kind of starts and seemed kind of subdued, and I was like, oh shit. But then I realized that was just James, like Bitch kind of being like, well, got a lot of fucked up shit in my closet, wink. And I was like, great.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't already sold, I am completely sold on you right now, because that was brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree. And also on a note of Vicky though, they really tried to. It sort of relates in my notes later on as well, and what we talked about previously. So maybe there's not much more to talk about, but I'm just interested to hear your views on it. They're really trying to push the storyline of her coming out of her shell and her showing more of her personality. And based again on the clips we saw, and just like from what I've seen personally, I'm not really into the storyline. Like, I don't think it's really happened. I still think she seems very reserved. I think she is just generally a bit of a Pearl case, and I love Pearl, where she's just
Yeah.
very reserved as a person generally. And I
Mhm.
think Pearl needed, remember that dancing challenge where half man, half woman? I think Pearl needed that to like really break out of her shell. It's difficult because I don't want to be like everyone should have a certain type of personality, but
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing the storyline that they're trying to push for her personally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's
Like,
interesting because it's interesting because for me, I felt like I knew Victoria better in the first few episodes when they kept on saying, "We don't know who you are yet," and I was like, "Well, I mean, apparently I kept on forgetting some of her costumes, but her outfits and stuff." But it's interesting because I felt at that time like that alien look. I just remember being like, "Okay, that's incredible," and
that was so good.
so good. And there was a little hint at this kind of sense of humor behind what she was doing that I thought was excellent, and I loved it, and I lived for it. And so I thought it was kind of funny that like then for me it was only then that she kind of faded a little bit. Whereas what I thought was kind of strange is they were kind of like, oh, you know, yeah, like you said, they're trying to push this like you should have been out of your, you know, you come out of your shell a bit. But I feel like that was them. I feel like that's kind of in some ways a way of neatly tying up that package at the end, because I think they did end with that kind of sense of like actually Victoria's going to go and kill it now outside of this competition. Like
I definitely agree with that. I totally agree with that part of it 100%. So yeah, I guess I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But like actually no, I do know. So like, but that doesn't like she was gonna kill it, like you said, like from the first episode, first 1 or 2 episodes, it's obvious she was gonna kill it. Like her looks have always been outstanding, always been flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get that, like she's always gonna kill it. But in terms of a storyline of like her personal growth, like I don't know, I'm still not buying that.
Yeah, I did feel like it was a little bit tacked on at the end, like and here's your moment. Like it's
like everyone
kind
needs,
of
everyone needs like a sob story, right? And like, oh, you can have this one because it's the best we can do, but it's not real.
Right. But yeah, I think that's absolutely it. But it's kind of funny watching like their storylines being like, bitch, like was knocked down, but she got back up. James learned to be a bit more humble. Victoria kind of spoke a bit more.
But did she though? But I don't even know if she did. That's my whole point. I think she's super nice. Like I'd love to hang out with her. I think she seems like a really cool, chill.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She's great. Like
whose artistry like I'm in love with. I think she's amazing. That's the thing. So I don't mean in a negative way. I just mean like in terms of like what the show was trying to do. I just wanted to clarify that.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Did you have anything else you wanted to chat about before the main stage?
No, I think that's me for everything.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So should we go through it section by section? So start with glamour and the first look.
So first up was bitch.
Bitch. Oh, sorry, it was bitch. I wrote one order. Yeah.
So I have to admit that when she first came up, I was a bit like, I mean, like my first response was to just write yes in capital letters. Then I was a little bit like, oh, I kind of wanted a longer dress. But then she turned around and had the arse cheeks, and I was like, okay, now it makes sense. It makes a little bit more sense. And I kind of loved that there was this weird kind of 1920s flapper kind of thing, plus this kind of sexy siren kind of figure, plus something kind of messed up and strange. And I loved it. I thought it was I just thought it was beautiful. I just thought that was lovely. Again, at first I was a little bit worried. I just kind of wanted that slightly longer dress, but then it made sense for me.
Interesting. So I had the same initial reaction as you. The second I saw, I'm like, whoa, like awesome. Loved it straight away. But then, like, the more time I was looking at it, I became less and less sure. So, like, I really loved, like, her head upwards. Like, I loved this look. I thought that was really cool, very unique for her. Like, I hadn't seen anything like that on her before. And it just worked for me. Like, it was, like a regal, but, like, a different interpretation of it. It was glamorous, and I just really liked it. And I think the dress was cool initially. But the more I looked at it, it was just, like, it was very dominatrixy. Like, which, again, I think the whole thing was cool and it was unique. But I just wasn't in love with the look generally, personally. Like, I don't know, like I've got mixed feelings towards it, if that makes sense. I think I like the concept and I like aspects of it and I like the execution, I guess. But in terms of glamour, I know, like, for me the categories are important, and like the head was giving me full glamour in like a really cool, unique way. But if you're taking head away and it was just a dress. Like it just was just done with a bit of a standard. I can imagine Monique
Yeah.
wearing something like that, you know?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I mean, we'll come to this obviously later with filth and horror, but there were a couple of times where I had that kind of reaction with a couple of um, a couple of the other looks from other people and from Bitch, actually a little.
Interesting.
But anyway, we'll come to. But yeah, I did. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I did think there was something. The head, I think, was definitely the thing that kind of sold it the most.
Yeah,
Um,
standard.
and I mean, I still loved it. I thought. I still
Yeah, I
thought.
was gonna say. I was gonna say I really liked it generally. Like again, it's more nitpicky sort of thing, and comparing it in comparison to others as well.
Mm,
But yeah, I really liked it. I just sort of like what I would it's more like what I would change to match what I would like to see, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is why this is the whole point of an opinion thing like this, I guess. So who was next? Was it James?
Victoria was next, I think.
Sorry, I just wrote initials down for the first, like for glamour, just so I could write notes without having to write their names. But so sorry,
Sure.
so go on. So what do you think of Victoria's look?
So I thought the outfit itself was stunning, but I kind of felt that there was a bit of performance element to it that was missing. Now, especially because the outfit itself is all black. I mean, incredible. Like, I don't know how she put that together. That must have taken forever. Stunning attention to detail, but it's all black and you've kind of got like a dark background, black stage pretty much behind you. So you need to do something that really moves, because that otherwise you get lost. And actually there are a few times where basically lots of parts of the dress were kind of hidden a little bit, because they were kind of swamped by the stage a little bit, and then you just had those like hoopy bits, which I loved, which were more visible. And I felt like there should have been slightly more performance element to that. I mean, I think it was stunning, and I
That's
think
a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah,
I wrote down like not wowed. I mean, it's cool, but glamour though. Like I don't know. Like again, like it was a cool look, but it didn't scream glamour to me. Like
yeah,
I don't know. And like it wasn't like she's done so many amazing looks. Like again, it was really cool, but it just wasn't. It didn't wow me. I wanted to be like I think for the last challenge, I need to be wowed by every single one.
mhm,
And if I'm not being wowed, like I was wowed by Bitches, like especially initially, I was
yeah,
definitely wowed. But Victoria's I wasn't. I'm just like, oh, cool, like nice, like nice one. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, oh, whoa, like what's this?
yeah.
Yeah. Whereas James is like,
I thought this was
I just
incredible.
wrote, I was just like in awe. I wrote winner in love, flawless, no negatives, miles ahead of the others. She got a crow.
Yeah, but like I literally also wrote down flawless, because she came on stage and I just thought like, okay, that's fantastic. Then the fan came out with the glitter and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
and it was so cleverly done, because I think the problems I had with Victoria's were basically what James did incredibly well, which was that Victoria kind of got swamped by the stage, where James was wearing still very dark colors, but that shimmered and had a redness to them and like accents going through them, and there was a big performance element to it. I mean, I was already loving it with the fan, and then the urn of ashes came out, and all the crow things, and it was incredible.
Oh, so cool. It was so cool.
For
Like
me, by a country mile, won that category. Like
totally agree. Like it, which is what people remember this when we go to deliberations. So I want to bring this up. But that's the thing. Like I just love the story it told. Like it was so dark, but like so beautiful at the same time. It's like hauntingly beautiful in the story, and like I got chills just thinking about it now. Like I absolutely loved it.
And that had much more of an idea of glamour, I thought, behind it, because even though the other looks were very glamorous by Bitch and Victoria, the glamour there was a kind of tragic glamour, like this kind of she's beautiful and whatever, but she's in pain, she's mourning, and the redness from her, like it's a redness of like blood and the macabre, and it was very like Victorian, very like Poe, and I adored it.
And also very, again, completely unique for her, which I loved. I know that's sorry, I just wanted to point out as well, because something you said earlier that I think applies, is like it's her attention to detail in every single outfit, every single challenge. Like it's just flawless. Like I think I said for a lot, but flawless, and like it's all the tiny little details just elevate it to the next level for me. And like I think it really showed in this particular outfit, especially just like what her forte is, and how amazing and how talented she is.
100%, because at that point I was like, oh shit, good luck, bitch. Because I was just like, I was just like, okay, bitch can do this. And like the first, she came out with her glamour look. I was like, great. Then James came out. I was like, oh, this is going to be stiff competition.
Yeah. So okay. So on that note, let's go to the next
Mm.
category then. So James was out first, wasn't he?
Yes. With I don't okay. I thought overall I was a bit underwhelmed overall by the filth category.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
And I thought James's one. I thought it was hilarious, but it wasn't necessarily. It was like James on a standard Friday night. It was just like no.
I hope he doesn't watch this.
I just felt. I mean, like I felt like I love James. I felt like that was. I felt like that
Sorry.
was a little. Not simple. That's the wrong word. I just felt it was a little bit.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, because I kind of felt like, okay, James, like that it is funny and you've done that well, but I kind of wanted to see James take it really to that next level of filth. Have some like, because I don't know, maybe the bar was set almost too high last year
The cross. No.
by Vanda, and who came second? Matt begins with an M. You know the one, the queen. I mean the one who came. Yeah.
Melissa Fit.
Yes, thank you. And her filth last year was mind blowing. Like, and both her and Vanda, and who I think as the other finalist, Frankie Meatball, whoever, really pushed it to the limits in terms of like Vanda forced himself to vomit. Melissa B. Fierce had like was swinging an anal bead cross from his out, like just like. I mean, that was extreme, but I kind of, as a result, was expecting something a bit more extreme this time.
Completely.
And I was really surprised that like James was, because I thought if anyone was going to go to the next level, it would be James on that. And I was like, oh, James has a big sausage.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought as well. That's what I thought. But I quite like that. Again, as I think I wasn't expecting him to do that sort of character.
That's
so
true.
like, so initially I was disappointed, but then like as I was watching, I'm like, this is really cool because I didn't recognize James first of all whatsoever. I had to wait until the name was on the screen. Like, oh my god, that's James. And as I was watching it, like again, like it was characterized really well, and it was gross to watch. Like the way he was eating a hot dog and licking it off the floor, and like the expressions he was putting, like it was gross. Like she was like a twisted, like it wasn't like particularly sexual. It was more just like someone who was completely mentally unhinged, and like it was quite uncomfortable to watch. And like I don't know, like it was just. Like, again, I agree. I was underwhelmed generally with the category, and that includes James's look. But I think in comparison to the other two, for me, actually, it's probably the strongest in terms of performance. That's interesting. Characterization. Yeah.
I think characterization-wise, James definitely went for it. And I think, actually, yeah, you're right. Like, because I think James is normally so pretty and so well put together. So for James to get dirty is really good in that sense.
Yeah.
Like,
in that way.
Yeah, to have like makeup smeared and like kind of not quite perfect is a big thing for James, and that's I did think that was good.
I think like if you came out, you know that sex look, the Cinnabon, whatever it was, so like Cinnabite. Sorry, I'm just very hungry right now. The Cinnabite look, like with the lips and like the sex thing, like that would have been a good feel flip. But we've seen all that sort of stuff from him before, so I was like, that's the sort of thing I assumed he would do, and the fact that he did this, I think, really pleasantly like. Caught me by surprise in a pleasant way, sort of thing, caught me off guard in a good way. So I liked it for those reasons.
Yeah, you've convinced me on that one, actually, I think.
Yeah.
Because like I think my first thought was that it was a bit simple, but actually the more you talk about it, the more that makes sense to me. Cool. And
it's
then
interesting.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the bitch came next because that's a good segue. We're on the same segue train. Because her look was very like obviously a very similar character to James's look. So yeah, what are your thoughts on bitch's filth look?
I am not fully sure what to feel about it because I think out of all three of them, bitch probably went furthest in terms of pushing the envelope and going for like the extreme, as in I'm not sure. Like one question I had was like where James had actually where bitch had actually got that from, because if it was an actual like cleaning trolley thing, then
I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was like some wig hair. I'm sure it was like
I was
some brown dye in it. Like I you know.
Yeah, and I mean, which kind of was interesting for me because when I watched it, I kind of assumed that it wasn't a real one, and so as a result, wasn't as shocked by what she was doing. And then I was like, oh, she's drinking like some brown water, like. But then I was just thinking like, but if it's real, like, but maybe that was the plan to make kind of keep questioning.
Yeah, well, that was a cool part. Like again, I think this is probably her biggest strength is characterization, and although I think James's character was very well characterized as well, bitch knocked it out of the park. Like she like was a real person, like like in terms of like being a TV show or something like that. Like I
Yeah.
really got the character straight away, and it was a really fun character to watch. It was really intriguing. It was gross to watch. Like it's when you watch a horror film, like I love horror films. Like none of it's real, but you're
Yeah,
trying
that's
to
true.
like get into it. You're trying to be like, oh, like trying to make yourself think it's real to make it fun. And that's what I
Yeah.
was doing with her. It's like I knew none of it was real, and it wasn't like really that extreme, but like her character, she sold the character in a way that made me like suspended my belief enough to,
Right.
enjoy it for what it was, sort of thing. If that
Right.
makes sense?
And my initial misgivings with it, because like at first I was a bit like, okay, the lines are kind of a bit weird and crazy on the face, but then the more I looked at them, the more I was like, this is actually fucking hilarious, like
Yeah,
because it's just
yeah,
like it's such a kind of send up of that kind of like going for this kind of perfect aged woman look, and it's just kind of like I've got some wrinkles, and it was like
yeah,
really
yeah,
camp, really 80s like budget horror film, and I just thought it was incredible. So I know it was really interesting to see the Boulets liking that as well. So
yeah. Well, her looks are always, I think you summed it up well. Her looks are always tongue in cheek, even like the
yeah.
most serious looks. There's always like a tongue in cheek aspect to them.
Mhm.
And obviously, like that really showcased itself in this look. But sorry, I'm realizing we're pretty tight on time.
Mm.
So Victoria's look, what do you think? Her
I thought she looked incredible. I loved it. I mean, I did think parts of it at first I was like, oh, is this going to be like really obvious? And then no, like she kind of went for it in a way because I think I don't know, I was basically worried that she'd kind of go for the joke really quickly. Like I was worried that basically she'd jump on the corpse and like hump it and then be like, woo, and then like walk off. But like what I really liked is
It's
she
funny
kind
you
of
say that
stayed.
because I just imagine Bitch doing that. I think that would have been a far better act for Bitch to have done.
Actually, that's a good point. I think if Bitch had done it, I would have adored it because I think Bitch would have like done this really like yeah, Bitch would have like humped on it for like 5 seconds and then just
Yeah,
been like
cranked up.
and then got out a cigarette and then like walked off. And it would have been like a five
Yeah,
second performance and it would have been hilarious. Whereas I think
exactly.
Victoria kind of needed to build that up a little bit more. And I loved what she actually eventually did with that. I thought it was
See, I don't
cleverly
know.
done.
See, I think this is a controversial opinion, but I don't know. Like, I didn't think it really worked as like a serious performance. Like, it just didn't really do much. I think her look was amazing. Like, but again, it
Mm.
wasn't a filth look. Obviously, first of all, you see the look. I'm like, especially compared to the other two who are so like overtly filthy in terms of their just look
She
and
was very
appearance.
pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she looks stunning. Like I love look. It's just something I'm obsessed with a game called Bloodborne, which is like a dark gothic game. It's really cool. And she like something straight out of Bloodborne. So I loved her like character, but I didn't think it was appropriate for the filth category. And then she relied completely on the performance, and I was quite underwhelmed by the performance. Like I don't think it
Yeah.
was. Again, like I don't like maybe it wasn't believable enough. Like I said, it's weird because Brule said in his deliberation, like it was haunting. We bought it, like you're really into it. We bought it so much. Like for me, I wasn't getting any of that.
Yeah.
Like I was just a bit like obviously a dummy, and like she could have just taken it further. I think for me, like it was just a bit pedestrian. It was a bit like what anyone. If someone said to me, right, you've got to go on stage, and you're into this corpse, and like you can pull out. You know what I mean? Like it felt
Yeah.
like what you would expect. Like, I think the theme was super
That's true.
dark. I love the theme. I just
Mhm.
think maybe because it was such a dark theme, she was scared to take it as far as she could have. Like she didn't seem too
Yeah.
turned on, really. She seemed like maybe like for a little bit she was, but like I would have been
Mhm.
like
That's a good point.
lusting after, like like take it further, like really lust after it and be like, like maybe like smelling it or like licking it or like I don't know, just
Right.
like taking it further, like
Right, and I think
making
that's interesting because I think you're absolutely right. If James had had that, for example, James would like full on
yeah,
made out with that corpse. Um,
yeah,
and I think
in a
actually what
convincing way. Sorry.
yeah, and I think the thing actually, I wasn't. I mean, I think I just had like slightly different expectations because before we see Victoria, we kind of saw that bed moving on, and I was hoping Victoria was on the bed. I thought it might be like Israel pushing the bed in, and then she'd perform from the bed,
That's what I
and
thought as well. Yeah.
and then I was a bit like, oh, okay, she's just pushing the bed, and I kind of wanted her to go like I don't know, but I thought there was a lot of good things about it. I just felt like it could have been pushed a little bit further.
Totally agree. Totally agree. But again, it's important to remember what our thoughts when we get to deliberations.
Yeah.
So should we move to the horror looks?
Yes. So Victoria was first. Okay. I don't know if this is controversial because I think I definitely disagree with at least one boule on this, which is I thought it was really well done. I just wasn't that like for horror. I was like, okay, it's a witch, or it's like an aged woman. I didn't quite get. I basically wanted it to go to the next stage. I wanted to be like, because that she kind of took quite a common trope, and I thought, okay, if you're going to take this kind of common image, this common trope, do something kind of twisted with it that we wouldn't expect, because horror relies a lot on that kind of things of the unexpected, right? And I kind of was found a bit like, I was kind of like, okay, and like, I mean, I thought she looked incredible, but I was just kind of, I don't know quite what it was. I was missing something.
Like, I think it was more of a showcase of her flawless execution. Like, the character was executed, totally, perfectly. Sorry, I've lost my words. But like, it was just, I agree. Like, I hadn't written it down, but I think you made a good point. Like, it wasn't similar to the last thing for me. Like, it just wasn't taken far enough. Like, it was an amazingly well executed witch look that was creepy, but like the only thing I wrote pretty much was like, you're obviously going to be comparing it to the final from last season, especially because it's the exact same challenge. And like, compared to Vanda's horror look, who was like a really like amazing horror witch with like a really compelling story, I feel like Victoria was just more like a standard like creepy bog witch, which was cool. Like, it was well done, it was really cool. But like, compared to Vanda's, who like had this, well, I suppose Vanda's look last season was similar to James's glamour look in that like it was so like hauntingly beautiful and scary, and it had told such a strong story just with the look and her characterization. Like, that's the sort of thing. Like, again, like, I think it goes back to what I said at the beginning. I need to be wowed in every category. I need to be wowed, and I wasn't wowed. I think it was awesome, but I wasn't wowed.
Yeah, same thing. Absolutely the same. I'm just like, you are clearly incredibly skilled to be able to put that together. But I just kind of wanted, I was like, okay, now we've got the witch. What is she going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe she'd like, I don't know, ripped something off and it'd been like something like some, because she just really good like blood, like gore makeup. Like, if she'd ripped off a bit of skin and like, something like that would have been awesome. I don't know, but at the same time, like I said, like, as a showcase of her like special effects skills, like if she was on a show like Face Off, she would have won for that look.
Oh my god, yeah, 100%. Like, her outfits, I don't think anyone can do really what she does to the same quality.
Exactly. Like, I suppose like you look at the Alien, like that would have been a way better horror finale.
Oh my god, that Alien! I wanted that Alien for literally every challenge. I just like, I don't think I would have ever got sick of seeing that Alien, because it was so... the best look season. Standout look. Yeah, 100% for me. Like, I still am bitter that they didn't win, but
so James next. Go on. What did you write for James?
I feel like kind of similar things to Victoria in the sense that like, I thought it was great. Sorry, let me hear me out. Hear me out.
Had a shock face.
I thought it was incredibly well put together. I thought it was beautiful, and very
beautiful,
terrifying. Well, that kind of twisted beauty, but very well done. Let's say, very well executed. For me, I kind of wanted, the whole thing with clowns is meant to be they're like, they terrify you, they haunt your nightmares, and I kind of wanted her to take it. I don't know quite what I wanted though. That's the thing, because I was like, what could you have really done with it? But I mean, it was definitely, for me, the performance was better than Victoria's on that. But I kind of still I was still craving something.
See, I completely like. I mean, obviously, it's just opinion. Like, I respect your opinion, even though it's wrong. Like, I was just terrified. Like, the second I saw her, I'm like, whoa! Like, I'm like actually scared. Like, if like I was just like, fuck me, James. Like, legit terrifying. Like, I think it's a way like, again, she like masculine. She looked like I don't know the word, like masculinized her face, sort of thing. Like, I've never seen. Like, she looked way more masculine than I thought she could ever look based on her actual appearance, and it was just like a really risky move to make, and it was just scary. Like, if I walked past that on the street, I would have like had chills down my spine. Like, I think it was a really scary, well executed horror. Like, I got horror from it personally. Yeah, that was a challenge.
Oh, absolutely. I got horror from it as well, and I thought I agree with you on the makeup. I thought that was a really clever move and very risky move, that you said, but I think it was a risk that needed to be taken. And I mean, I like the kind of physicality. I kind of wanted to see like slightly crazier limb movements, like kind of slightly more unnerving, because I think it was still like, I'm moving. I kind of wanted like a jerk of the head, like really kind of unpredictable movements. Actually, there's
I quite liked that though, because it made it more unsettling to me that it wasn't like overtly. Because I feel like if you can relate to like super creepy horror people, that makes them scarier to me. I don't know.
That's a good point.
That's just the personal. I get what you're saying. Like, you need to camp it up and make it over the top for this sort of thing. I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think, like, I was just thinking now, I feel like if any queen I've seen on Drag Race or Dragula or other shows, I feel like James is by far the most versatile. Like,
oh yeah, so versatile. Like, I think James can, like, the fact that that clown look, that glamour look, and the filth look all came from the same person is pretty incredible, actually,
It's
because
amazing. It's
they're all
amazing.
cleverly done. Like the details were all very specific. And actually, I feel like this challenge, this episode particularly, is where James probably showed the most versatility, in the sense that a few of the other challenges you could say, okay, I can see how that is James adapting to a Mad Max challenge, or James adapting to this. Whereas this, I just felt like James was just like balls to the wall, like, okay, we're gonna have this person, and she's incredibly different to this character. So yeah, I thought incredibly versatile in that sense.
Yeah, and it's a big risk to have taken, and also like the way she
Mm.
characterized and like her vision for each one. Again, just show. I was just so impressed with things like that, because to have there's a kind of concept of a character and execute it to the way she executes it, and then portray it in a way to her concept. Like, it's just, I don't know, like I respect that so much. Like, that's the thing I most value in drag queens and like stuff generally. Really, is just I don't know. I thought it was great. Sorry, we're lingering too long on people. That was my fault. So, bitch, what do you think of a horror look?
Oh, I love this. I absolutely adored this. Now, I have to admit, because at the first, for me, as you've probably guessed from the first two, I was like, okay, these are good, but I kind of want something more from both Victoria and James when they'd gone before. And that initial image of bitch, where you couldn't see actually any other part, she was basically just a black shadow with those eyes. I thought that as an image itself was stunning. Like, I actually kind of want to like print screen like
Totally
that
agree.
like screen grab that exact image, because I just thought it was stunning. Like this beautiful, like really haunting, very like slightly unhuman shape made by some of the bits of clothing, but also very like this kind of slender figure. I loved it. At first I was a little bit worried when when you first actually, because actually when she first starts moving off stage, you still couldn't see anything of her actual clothing, which I thought was clever. Like, it wasn't just like, okay, the lights are on now. It was still kind of slightly unnerving for me. And then you got the clothing and little bits of it. I was like, okay. I mean, it wasn't totally underwhelming. Don't get me wrong. I still thought it was beautiful, the look underneath. At first, I was prepared to be underwhelmed, because I was worried what it might look like when it wasn't just a shadow, because the shadow was the thing I loved. But then I actually really loved it. It was this very like flowy thing. And then what I thought was clever, like the teeth, which is something we hadn't seen in the shadow part, suddenly came to kind of add an extra horror element to the more like, to the kind of the more, not standard, but the more, or maybe more standard thing, if the shadow is very unhuman, as soon as she's a more human kind of like character, you've automatically got things that stop her from looking human. And that's what really worked for me. And I just actually it reminded me of when bitch right near the beginning said about how much she's influenced by video games, and there was something very, very video game like for me in that look, and I absolutely adored that. What did you think?
So, like, I completely agree. At the beginning, when she was in the shadows, like, I got horror from it. Like, I was, again, unsettled. It was unique. Like, I was intrigued. Like, if you saw that, like, sort of thing you saw in the shadows, you'd be like, I don't know, like, it was just really creepy, but also enticing and like beautiful at the same time. Like,
Exactly.
again, I was just super impressed. It's very unique. Like, just like you said, the image you sort of created with everything was just amazing. Like, I thought it was great, and definitely good for the horror category as well. But when the lights came on, I was interested. Like, there's a lot going on, but I think because like the shadow figure was so strong, in comparison, her look with the lights on was weaker for me.
I
don't know, like the teeth felt a bit proppy. Like, she had like shit under her eyes that she also took off. But when it actually during the deliberation as well, she took off the shit under her eyes and the teeth, and I was just, I don't know, like. Again, it's just a personal preference thing, but for me, just like, I was a little bit underwhelmed, and also her look, it was very pretty. Like, I think it would have been good for a glamour look with the lights on, like, especially without the teeth and like how she looked at the very end when she was crowned. I think that would have been a gorgeous glamour look. Like, it wasn't really horror for me. When the lights are on, when the lights are off, amazing, like 10 out of 10 easily. When the lights are on, it lost like half its points for me personally. I wasn't like, again, I don't think it was bad, or it was more just like, compared to someone like James's look, who, I don't know, I just felt like was like just horror scary and like unique and well executed. I just don't think I don't know. You know what I'm saying, right?
I can see that because I think it's part of the same thing I had. Like, I think it's once the lights were on a bit more and you kind of saw that it wasn't fully black, it was kind of this gray. It kind of, at first, kind of took me a little bit out of the kind of fantasy of it all. But then I still think her performance then added to it. She still kept the kind of fluid motion and kind of eeriness
Yeah,
to it.
yeah,
I mean, I agree with you. I think like it lost a little bit there for me, but I think that initial image was just so strong that I couldn't really get that out of my head.
yeah.
I that final image, I just with that first image, I just thought was sensational. I just like out of the whole season of Dragula so far, that's probably one of my favorite moments of everything. I just thought that was incredible.
Phenomenal. I completely agree. It's interesting. I just thought that, like, I think the cool thing about like us doing this together is I feel like I focus more on the outfits and the looks, and you focus slightly more on the performance.
Yeah, I think
like,
so.
Even during the performance, I'm just like analyzing the outfit. I'm sort of not really paying attention to the performance. I'm analyzing the look, sort of thing.
Yeah, I tend to miss a lot of details with the looks. It's only like when either you mention it or the Boulets mention it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was the thing. Oh, actually, on which note, James's shoes, the clown heels, which I missed entirely the first time, but those are genius.
Yeah,
Absolute genius.
Again, his attention to detail is on point. Yeah, he's amazing. So, and then they have like this weird. I still don't get why they do this. They like have reviews in front of the queens and then have deliberation separately. But I just thought it was really awkward, but like quite sweet at the same time when they're talking about Victoria and her journey, which was mind blowing for all of us. And she's like, "Oh, look, I'm so excited to meet everyone." Do you remember that bit?
Yeah. I was like, "Oh." It's kind of like that moment in Mean Girls. It's like the girl with the cake who like has a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did love that. Actually, I think because I think what she was trying to say was like now that Victoria is kind of more established, she's excited for people to meet Victoria as she currently is.
Oh, I thought she meant. I don't know. I think she meant just like because they're talking about how many fans she had and like how all that sort of stuff. She's just meant like she's literally just like excited to go and meet everyone, like her fans.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's really sweet, but it was just like quite an awkward like response. It made her more endearing. Like if she'd been like that the whole way through, I think like I would have been far more endeared to her. I don't know. But I think also illustrated. I think it also illustrated like how she hasn't really come out of her shell much as well.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of a sign that she probably wouldn't at that point win. But I still think she did incredibly well in the competition. Like, I don't think you can take that away from her. Like, although there are elements where she could have maybe been a bigger character, I also think that's maybe just not who she is. And actually, if you're seeing her in a live performance, you probably won't be just sat around like chatting with her or like see her having like one-to-ones with other queens. And actually what you'd see on stage could still, I mean, I still want that performance to just be up a notch, but I just think like she's such an impressive talent.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I was just wondering, I wonder whether if she was on Drag Race, like Rue and the judges could have brought her out of her shell more potentially. Like maybe if she was on that show instead. I don't know. But sorry, you absolutely have to leave in like 3 minutes, don't you?
Pretty much. I mean, I can kind of run.
I don't want you to run. Okay, so let's like, what else should we talk about? So obviously the winner itself. So how do you feel about Bitch winning?
I was super excited. I was actually, as the deliberation was happening, I mean, I'd already kind of seen people in the comments being like, "Yes, bitch," and I was like, "She's probably won then." But at the same time, what I thought was kind of funny about the deliberation was how little James was mentioned.
Yeah.
I was really baffled by that. I was like, okay, did we not see the glamour look?
It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Are we pretending that didn't happen? Because for me, I mean, I pretty much, so for me, like in glamour, I had James at the top. For filth, I kind of had Victoria at the top. And for horror, I had Bitch at the top. And for me, Bitch was second in the other ones that she wasn't top on. So for me, overall, she kind of had this kind of consistency as a kind of winner that works for me. But for me, I was kind of like, oh, they've all, for me, won kind of individual parts of this. But then what I found really interesting, the Boulets were like, yep, so this one is Bitch. Also, this one is Bitch or Victoria. And this one, maybe Bitch. And you're like,
yeah, okay, it made no sense.
Is James, like, because I think with the glamour, they were like, oh yeah, James needs to improve her acting. And I was like, I thought that was kind of, I mean, it was a little bit over the top in parts, like the kind of crying with the ashes, but I thought that was actually done quite beautifully. And I was quite surprised that they thought, unless there was more that we didn't see, but I was surprised by that.
And James' acting has been great. I was thinking about the previous challenges. I think he's really portrayed his characters really, really well. But no, for me personally, I think I just want to I think it's a good way to summarize it. So like for glamour, James knocked it out of the park for me. Like he was miles ahead of everyone else. For filth, I think it's pretty even generally. I personally think I like James best, but I think they're all pretty good in different ways. Apart from Victoria was slightly behind for me. And then for horror, for me, James is definitely ahead because I think if Bitches stayed in the dark, I would have found it really difficult to choose between the two. But because James legitimately scared me with his look, and I think it was really unique and really awesome, James was ahead for me for that as well. But obviously, I guess my view is not the main view because it was definitely not the Boulet brothers' view. I'm interested to hear whether it's other Dragula fans. Well,
I was surprised by that because I kind of thought James has won 3 challenges, and the Boulets obviously like a lot of what she's done, quite rightly, because she's been incredible. And I did think it was really interesting that at times they were just like, okay, so you're like, yep. So I very much thought they'd do that very kind of TV thing as well of like, I thought they might have fairly similar results to me in the sense that I thought they'd have pretty much individual winners, the winners of each category being different.
Yeah.
So that we'd get this sense of like, oh, it's still really tight, and they're all in the top because of because of their individual talents, and it's going to be kind of a rundown of like who did best overall. But then it was just like it was a bit like, oh yeah, like bitch, Victoria, maybe bitch. I was like, okay, just to James, because I mean, if we're taking their critiques that were at least that were aired, it would seem like James was 3rd place from that final, which doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is actually, so look, you need to go, don't you? So I feel
I can squeeze a couple of minutes.
Are you okay? Okay. So I was going to say, if you want to, you can give any final thoughts, and I can just wrap up quick, sort of thing.
Sure. Well, just overall, really glad that Bitch won. I think it was the right choice for me based on the progression through the series and based on the final set of performances, which I loved. And I think just generally she's been incredibly strong. I mean, I kind of already loved her anyway, but I think it was also the right one in terms of representing them as Boulet brothers. I think it makes a lot of sense because I think she's a kind of a little bit more perhaps immediately likable, whereas I think James is incredibly likable, but I just think there's that kind of harder edge that might be a bit more difficult for some like club promoters or some whatever at first. But I think actually James would have done that incredibly well still. So I'm incredibly glad Bitch won. And I think Victoria did do herself fairly proud in that last bit there. And I think she did good.
Okay, cool. I mean, I have a different opinion, but I completely see where you're coming from. I agree with parts of it. But yeah, so I'll just quickly give my stuff, my opinions, and wrap up now. But do you want to bounce?
I can do in that case. Yeah, I'll quickly bounce. Yeah. So farewell, everybody. It's been beautiful having this experience with you all digitally or whatever. Yeah, it's been a great series, I think. So enjoy. And I hand you over to the wise brain of Grant. I don't know why I'm talking like this. What am I doing?
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you'll come back, join us for some drag streams. And indeed. I'm still really keen. I just want to quickly say I'm really keen for Sabrina Boys. # Sabrina Boys.
Oh my god, yes, yes.
We should do Sabrina, that, right?
Sabrina the Teenage Bitch Pudding. That's us.
Sorry, say again.
Oh, I see that joke fell flat. Okay, I was going to Sabrina the Teenage Bitch Pudding.
Oh, that's pretty good. No, because I cut off because I was speaking, so I cut off the first part. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, it ties in. So yeah, if you guys want to see us, we're thinking of watching the first episode of Sabrina, then talking about this afterwards because we want to know if it's actually any good or not. Still, if you fancy us doing that, let us know. But if not, yeah, Bob will be back for some drag race streams, I'm sure, or some other random videos in the future. So yeah, and obviously you can follow him on social media. So yeah, so thanks for joining. Thanks for getting involved, Bob. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you on the channel sometime soon. That was professional.
For now. Bye-bye. See you guys. Bye.
So my view is cool. So I agree with Bob in that I feel like in terms of competition generally, I can totally see why Bitch won. I think she's a deserving winner. But if it was based solely on the final challenge, I definitely feel like James was ahead. I'm really interested to hear what your guys' opinion on that is. Yeah, But I'm not bitter she won. It just came as a surprise, like after how awesome the last challenge was and like how far ahead I thought James was. It was a bit of a surprise for me. I feel like Bob was saying, that's the other thing I want to say. I feel like Bob was saying, you know, when they're talking about like how Bitch sort of won some categories for them, or, you know, was at least near the top. I feel like for me, that was more of a production trying to justify her winning, because I think like they wanted her to win anyway. Like they know she was a crowd favorite. They know she had the most sympathetic story. As Bob said, I completely agree. I think she'd be the best representation for the show in terms of her personality and character. But I don't think it really makes sense based on the last challenge. So I feel like it was more edited and produced in a way to just sort of justify her winning, if that makes sense. Although it's, you know, potentially a cynical view, it's just what I got from watching it. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys think below. And yeah, that's sort of it really. Comment down below. We keep the conversation going. Interested to hear all your views. I'm sure Bob will comment as well. You can follow us on social media if you want. You know, like, comment, subscribe if you fancy it. It's your life. Do what you want. I really want to reach 1K though, so I can. I think you get certain things right. Like you can go to a YouTube space. I think you get sponsorship deals, so I can start like vlogging loads of shit to you guys. I just think it'd be fun to reach 1K. We're getting there. So if you want to subscribe, that'd be lush. But if you don't want to subscribe, totally get it. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. It's been it's always been really fun doing these. Like I always want to chat to my friends about the show, so I just thought why not just do it on YouTube and get other people involved in the conversation as well. I know we've done this series at a weird time because for various reasons, really, basically both our schedules are only linked up so we could broadcast like mid-afternoon, which, you know, people in America aren't even awake yet. So I know it's not ideal, but hopefully it's still fun to watch, even if you're not watching it live. And as the channel gets bigger, you know, I can start to prioritize certain things. So yeah, you know, we can sort out a better time potentially for the next season of Dragula. And Drag Race as well. But yeah, I would do Drag Race stream soon. I think it starts 25th, right? So in like a week's time. So yeah, I'll do a stream for that with some special guests, I'm sure. I've got a little vlog I'm preparing from my trip to Poland over New Year. So when I get a chance, I'll finish editing that and get that up. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little mini series. Only covered the last few episodes, but that's something as well. If you guys fancy it, I'm happy to go back and cover the rest of the episodes. It might be quite fun to do in retrospect, especially, you know, now we've seen the thing in the sort of macro sense. It might be fun to go back and watch it again in sort of like a micro sense, like every episode, focusing on a particular episode. So yeah, if you guys fancy that, let me know. Sorry, I feel like I've been rambling for ages now, so I feel like everyone gets a general idea. I'm sad to go, you know. It was really fun, this Dragula mini-series. But yeah, it's got to end for now, I guess. So yeah, cheers for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below. I can never point downwards properly. Thoughts down below. Continue the conversation. And yeah, catch you all next vid. Take care of yourselves. Peace out for now.